This is one of the great modern Japanese lager stories, a beer with a name that means first, or number one. A beer built around a brewing idea so simple it became the identity of the brand. Kirin Ichiban.
That's name.
So I want to try this baby out of the tank. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Tree House Brewing Company, where today we are high on the hill here at the brewery in Charlton, giving you the history of and tasting Kirin Ichiban. All right, so to understand Kirin Ichiban, we need to go all the way back to Yokohama in the late 19th century, when beer was still new to Japan. One of the key figures at the time was William Copeland, a Norwegian-American brewer born Johan Bartinius Thorsen in Norway in 1834. Now, as a young man, he apprenticed at a brewery near his house in Norway before leaving for the United States, where he took the name William Copeland. Now, in 1864, Copeland arrived in Japan. Brewing stayed with him, and in 1870 he founded Spring Valley Brewery in Yokohama, one of the early commercial breweries that helped introduce modern beer to Japan. Copeland was super inventive. At his brewery site, he used natural spring water and dug a cooling cave in the hillside using the steady temperature to help his beer mature. He also adopted a pasteurization technique early on, when the science of beer stability was still nascent and changing. The beer earned a reputation with foreign residents in Yokohama and eventually traveled to Tokyo and Nagasaki. But Copeland's gift was brewing, not running a stable company. He returned to Norway in 1872, married a woman by the name of Anne Christine Olsen, and brought her back to Japan. Several years later, she passed away, and as financial pressure mounted on the Spring Valley Brewery, it was put up for public auction in 1884. That could have been the end of the story. Instead, it became the beginning of Kirin. Now, the brewery's assets became a big part of the Japan Brewing Company, founded in 1885. A few years later, in 1888, the company began brewing Kirin beer. The name Kirin comes from Kilin, a mythical East Asian creature associated with good fortune, peace, and prosperity. So the Kirin Brewing Company was formally established in 1907, carrying forward the legacy of Japan Brewery and indirectly Copeland Spring Valley Brewery. Now, for almost 100 years, Kirin Lager became one of Japan's defining beers. But by the 1980s, the Japanese beer market was changing. Competition was growing, consumers were paying a lot more attention to premium products. Now, brewers needed a way to stand apart without abandoning the clean, precise character people had come to expect of a Japanese lager. The entire brand was built around one brewing idea: the first press. Now, as a brewer, here's where it gets interesting, right? When brewers mash malted barley, they create a sweet liquid called wort. Now, in a typical brew house, even like ours, you collect the first runnings, then you rinse the grain in a process called sparging with hot water to pull out more of the sugar. That second collection helps efficiency, but it gives you more extract from the same amount of grain. Kirin Ichiban takes a different path. Kirin emphasized using only the first press of the wort, with no second press blended back in. The point is purity, softness, and refinement. The word Ichiban means first, or number one, so the brewing process became the name, the story, and the promise. Now, one aside, as a brewer, it's really kind of cool that they do that. Do I think it's overkill? Honestly, yes. You can adjust your pH, so not only are you getting good extract efficiency, but you're actually getting very high wort quality. So kudos to them on building their brand around that idea. If I was willing to bet, those second runnings they're using in another way. Another important detail: Kirin Ichiban is a 100% malt-based beer, brewed from malt, hops, and water. Many major lagers use adjuncts like rice or corn to lighten the body and flavor. Now, as Japanese food became more familiar around the world, Kirin Ichiban found a natural home in sushi bars, ramen shops, and neighborhood restaurants. Today, Kirin is a global beverage company with businesses beyond beer. But Kirin Ichiban remains one of the signature beers and one of the Japanese lagers people most recognize around the world. All right, so wow, what an amazing backstory. Norwegian brewer, moves to America, gets influence, goes to Japan, founds a brewery, wife passes away, brewery falls into disrepair, that brewery is bought, the Kirin brand is built over time, and the Ichiban beer is built around this idea of the first press, Let's see if all that stuff adds up into a beer that's super delightful to drink. All right, I'm excited to try this, guys. As I so often do, I like to comment on the bottle design to start. This is a really, really nice looking bottle. There's some really nice condensation on the bottle right now. It's like 90 degrees in central Massachusetts as we're trying this beer. And this condensation on the bottle is making it look super desirable. Yeah, so here we have the beautiful, interestingly rendered mythical creature. On the front, it says, Kirin Ichiban is the pinnacle of a century-long quest for a beer more perfected, where the finest ingredients meet attention to detail everywhere. Product of the USA, it says on the bottom, which I find to be really interesting. They must brew it in Japan, but they also brew it in America. Oh, brewed in Fort Collins, so they... No, probably New Belgium. So I don't know all the details, but I believe a subsidiary of Kirin owns New Belgium, and this appears to be brewed in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is where New Belgium's flagship brewery is. And if I had to guess, without having done my research, this is probably brewed at New Belgium in Fort Collins. Again, beautiful bottle, beautiful packaging. Here it says enjoy by February of 27. Again, I never know how long these Best By dates are, but this thing's probably 4 months old at this point, if I had to guess. How did we get it in the cooler? Was it warm?
Total wine warm.
Total wine warm. All right, here we go. Let's see if all that first press, first running stuff results in a beer of the highest quality. No rice in this Japanese style lager, which is very interesting. Guys, this is the part where I ask if you enjoy this content, just smash that subscribe button. A lot of good content on the channel, a lot of good historical content, so if you find yourself watching this video and you do enjoy it, click around a little bit, leave your thoughts, comments below, and we will be best friends forever. There it is, guys, Kirin Ichiban in the glass. Okay, she is looking a touch on the orange side. Beautiful crystal clear. Medium to low effervescent appearance in the glass. Definitely filtered. Definitely light. I did forget to check the alcohol content. Here we go, 5% alcohol by volume. This is Kirin Ichiban, first runnings beer. Yeah, okay. Mild on the nose, not very fruity, right? So sometimes you get that lager character that's kind of like fruity, appley, kind of pear-like on the nose. This one doesn't have any of that. It's more earthy, noble hops, mild citrus, mild spice. Really kind of mild. Doesn't smell very sweet, which is interesting. Again, this is an all malt beer, no rice, not a lot of sweetness on the nose. Actually smells pretty crisp and pretty dry. Huh. A lot going on in this one. Lot going on. Wow, okay. A little bit of oxidation, which I don't always love. I do try to disclose that on the channel. Every time I try a beer, it either has a freshness about it or it tastes a little bit stale and oxidized. I think, unfortunately, this example is going to be tainted a little bit by that. Doesn't taste super fresh to me. Fair amount of bitterness, though. Kind of surprising. Not a negative attribute. For me personally, bitterness is always a good attribute, especially if it lands well on the tongue. This beer has a bitterness that hits the palate, lingers on the palate a little bit. It's not unpleasant. The malt character is very plain, right? It's just straightforward. It's hitting with a little bit of honeyed malt character, a little bit of graininess, a little bit of kind of doughiness. Not a lot of that lager fermentation character that I spoke of before. But it's kind of an interesting flavor profile. It almost reminds me, this is a really weird reference. Michael, you might even want to pull the tape on this, but this bears some resemblance to Utica Club. Crackery malts. It's not super crisp. It has a heavier body than I was expecting, which is okay if you like that sort of thing. As a brewer, I do have a ton of curiosity around the first war brewing process. If you guys know anything we don't, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd be really curious to hear them. In terms of a verdict for this beer, kind of gonna leave you hanging. Like I said, if you like a heavier malt forward lager without a ton of sweetness and a fair amount of bitterness, You're really gonna like this beer. I do think there's the bones of a really wonderful lager in this beer, and I wish that I was trying it fresher than I am, and my suspicion is that when this beer is fresher, it's substantially better because there is a fair amount of hop character. So relative to its other mass market counterparts, the more hop character that's within a beer, the faster it will stale and oxidize, especially if it's not refrigerated. So this beer could be better, but it does sit at a disadvantage to its rice lager, lower hopped counterparts in that regard. I know that's saying a lot, but long story short, get me to Fort Collins. I want to try this baby out of the tank, and I think it would be a real treat. All right, guys, so that is Kirin Ichiban. As always, leaving your thoughts and suggestions down below is a huge help to us. We do read them and take them into consideration. Upcoming on the channel, we do have a lot of treehouse-centric content, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that, as well as other tastings and histories of beers like Kirin Ichiban. As always, drink well, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.